We've just had breakfast and it looks like it's going to be a glorious day, which means it's an allotment day. We've got to get down there. We've still got more sowing to do. Last month, April, was such a busy sowing month. Now we're into playing plant Jenga and moving stuff around so we've got room. We're in a bit of a hungry gap at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah, we're not picking that much at the moment, but we're sowing like mad.
Yeah.
It's frantically sowing seed, isn't it? What we want to do, though, is sow so many beans, isn't it? Beans is the thing that's going to keep us going through the winter.
More broad beans going in today, and also lots of beans for drying, isn't it? So we can start, because we really now have fallen into this self-sufficiency. Our lives have tilted a little bit. And something that has always been on the back of our minds for years, which was living a sustainable life, ever since we've been on the boat, is suddenly happening. And it's really, really important to us, producing our own food. But not only that, it's putting everything back into the soil. So all our waste, all our vegetable trimmings go back into the soil. And we actually feel like we're not taking anything out of the world.
We're not just happy anymore growing a few things on the roof. We just want to be growing every vegetable that we can that we're going to eat in the next year. You know, from carrots to beans to cabbages, everything. We just don't want to be buying Tesco supermarket stuff, do we?
We don't want chemicals on our food.
No.
And it's obviously the cost is a part of it as well, because it is, I think it's cheaper as long as you don't count your labour time. But it's a slow process, and this slow life that we live on a boat
suits it really well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And we're really busy. We're busier than we've ever been, but we're slower. I mean, this bean is not going to be being eaten for about 4 months. And a lot of the beans a lot of the seeds we're planting now are going to be eaten this time next year. Things like the broccoli, we sow now to eat in a year's time. So it really is slow living, even if the days and the hours are full, which they are, aren't they?
Oh, tell me about it, yeah. It doesn't matter if it's not cheaper or it costs about the same in the long run. It's knowing where the food comes from, isn't it? It's, the provenance, if you like.
Yeah.
But let's have a go through these. Oh, some pak choy, we'll have some of that.
All these oriental leaves. We've still got salads growing on the roof. We're going to still have tomatoes growing on the roof, because that's stuff we can pick as we need it. Yeah. And we have grown on the roof over the years, but nothing like the amount. You can't grow a whole year's worth of potatoes on the roof, but that's what we've tried to do on the plot. Yeah. You know, almost self-sufficient. And it also means that we eat differently, because we eat whatever is there.
Seasonal.
You know, we cannot bear to waste anything. So, I don't know what we're going to be harvesting today. There will be stuff to harvest, even though it's the hungry gap. But
better get going then.
Yeah, beans, leaves. Let's go.
Anybody that knows us knows how we love the birds, the bees, the flowers, the trees. And every year we just get so wound up at the activity of the Canal and River Trust, who like to brag that they're guardians of over 2,000 miles of canal corridor, and how they look after the environment and how they're concerned about the nature, the birds and the insects and the butterflies. You'll see on their website how active they are in maintaining and preserving. But look at this butchery. And every year it's the same, is it not? We get so angry about it. I've just paced this out. They're 12 foot now, this towpath is the width of. Who needs 12 foot? Hardly anybody comes up and down here. There's a mile between that bridge behind and that bridge ahead. So why are they having to cut down a mile long? Does my head in? I can't even summons up the words.
Even going down the bank, so it's not even flat footpath. And you might say, oh, it's okay, there's plenty of wildflowers left, which we've heard people say in the past. But if you stand and look at 1 square metre of flowers, which we've just done, it's full of bees and insects and food for those poor swallows that have come over from Africa and need feeding. And they have mown down, I can't imagine how many insects and animals they've killed by mowing. And in the meantime, we're trying to leave little patches of wildflowers on our allotment to help the environment and help the wildlife. And it's just been wiped out in an hour by the mowers and the strimmers.
It absolutely enrages me. Look at this. This patis that's been cut there used to look like this, and a whole strip. It's totally unnecessary. Not only is it a waste of time, but it's a complete waste of money. The path is wide enough, it doesn't need to be done. And if you're going to do it in the autumn.
There's nobody, if you, as far as you can see this way and the other way, there's nobody. No cyclists, nobody walking. So the footfall is really low here. And all it needs is this path keeping clean, which is fine. You can't even argue that they're doing it from the boat for the boaters, because lots of boaters, we're not worried, but lots of boaters want it mown up to the edges so they can get on and off the boat properly.
Make it easy for them.
But as you can see, they don't do the edges. So who wins? Nobody wins.
Nobody wins. It's not. It's unfathomable, and they're doing this up and down the country at this time of year, and
we've spoken to the contractors before, and there is no point. These poor guys are just doing their job. They're doing what they've been told to do.
Can't complain to the blokes that are doing it.
No.
They're just doing what they're told to do.
It's the protocol and the just.
We're just virtually speechless, aren't we?
And sometimes we say we're not going to talk about this anymore because it gets boring. We've done it.
Yeah.
But a part of me thinks if we stop, then they're just going to keep on. We've just got to keep on and on.
A Crick Boat Show this year, we'll pop in the tent with our evidence and show them.
Yes.
And we'll point this video at them.
Yes.
When we put it up and send them an email perhaps, and just see, if it just doesn't need doing. It's just complete. These guys could be utilised somewhere else doing better jobs, I'm sure.
So please don't greenwash by telling us that you're looking after the wildlife of the canal and what a good job you're doing, because you've just wiped it out.
When you're destroying it, yeah. Crazy.
Anyway, let's go to our allotment.
Yeah. I need a drink.
Anyway, on a brighter note, we have elderflowers in blossom. Now these are really early because I can remember making elderflower champagne in the past, end of May, beginning of June, and we're now second week in May. But the smell is just delicious. So we won't be making champagne, but I will be making elderflower cordial, which we make every year. And if we get some ripe gooseberries, we'll make some gooseberry and elderflower jam, because that is delicious. But it's a lovely sight, and they don't always all smell good, but these are good ones.
All three plots are looking really good. Still a lot of work to be done, but the weeds will insist on growing. We're getting ready for planting out the beans in a week or so. And here I am putting in some canes. We're going to try something different. We're going to have an archway growing over the path for the borlotti beans and the runner beans to grow over. So fingers crossed it will look really good and add a bit of height to the garden. Thankfully, things are growing really well in the polytunnel. A bit too well. It's going to be a bit of a race coming up to get them all planted out in time and watered in. But hey ho, it's all part of the fun. These are padron peppers, and if you've ever been to Galicia in northwest Spain, you are sure to have come across these fried in olive oil as part of a tapas meal. Absolutely delicious.
He might be a bit thin.
I'll stop cutting it. The broad beans, or fava beans, or field beans, whichever you know them as, are a bit small at the moment, but taken out of their pods and sprinkled over a salad, they're absolutely delicious, as Archie will attest. Look hard enough and somewhere amongst all these weeds is a few rows of carrots popping up. Tuppence.
So on the last video, I said I was going to show you the preparation of the angora fleece, which is going to be cashmere wool, and sitting on the front of the boat, and it's just really relaxing. This wool, or this fleece, is just as it came off the goat. And there are dirty bits, there are bits that are really full of seeds and just general muck, and there are some bits that are really too short to spin. So this is quite a slow task, but very relaxing. And I'm literally just teasing all the locks apart. Anything that's really mucky goes into the compost heap. It's yet to be washed, and picking out as much of the grass as I can. And sometimes you get little bits that have got really short fibres on them. Like these can't really be spun because they're too short. So they also go in the compost. And I'm left then with this good wool. I'm not too fussy because the kind of yarn that I spin isn't perfect. It's just as it is, and I can't waste this. So this now needs to get washed and washed and washed before moving on to the next stage. But in the meantime, it's just really relaxing to sit here. I'm quite happy. Just teasing my wool apart. So I've got a bucket of really hot water. I do this after we've just been cruising, so I know I've got lots of hot water. You can wash in all sorts of things, but I just use these soap nuts, which is really natural because I don't want any chemicals on the wool. And you can see that I'm getting a nice little bit of soap and foam. and this water's just about bearable, and this picked over fleece is now got to go in there and be washed very, very gently. If I shake fleece about, it can get felted and matted. Angora wool is not like sheep's wool, it doesn't have lots of lanolin on it, so it's a little bit easier. The sheep's wool process is even longer, but this now has to have at least 2 washes, at least 2 rinses, until the fleece comes out lovely and white and the water is clear. So I'm going to be about an hour, I guess, washing and rinsing this fleece, and then it can go on the back deck to dry, which will take another 2 days before I can get round to even thinking about spinning it. So it's a slow process. So this is the cleaned fleece. It's still got a few little bits of grass in there that I've missed, but that will gradually come out in the rest of the processing. It's much cleaner. It's very wet, but it's lovely and warm on the back of the boat. In the winter we hang this by the fire, but in the summer I just have to keep turning this and it will take a couple of days to dry, ready for carding and spinning.
Yes, it's nearly time for Crick Boat Show. We'll be there with our good friends on the Haven Knox Johnston stand from Saturday the 22nd of May till Monday the 24th. Do come along and say hello, we'd love to see you there.